Let's finish up this week by looking at Standard 5, Course Activities and Learner Interaction. Once again, we have a standard that has an alignment component, and the specific standard that does that is Standard 5.1, Learning Activities Promote the Achievement of the Stated Learning Objectives. I'm not going to spend much time here, just notice here we go, 5.1, that's one of those pillars that are supporting the assessments which are built on the objectives. So you want to make sure that the activities that you have the students to do link back to helping them be successful on those assessments. In other words, you give them the opportunity to practice. In 5.2, learning activities provide opportunities for interaction that supports active learning. So here we're talking about different kinds of interaction. We're talking about student-student interaction, student-instructor interaction, and student content interaction. Now, let me make it clear that you have to have interaction between the student and the instructor and interaction between the student and the content. Obviously, they're not going to learn the content if they don't interact with it, and the instructor is the one who's guiding them through that content. In almost all cases, you'll also want some sort of interaction between the students and other students that builds that sense of community and reduces the feeling of isolation. But also, if you've done learning activities in class where you group your students, they learn from each other, so that's very important. Now, if there's some reason that some pedagogical reason that you will not have student-student interaction, you'll have to specify what that reason is when you go through an actual QM review. So just keep that in mind. The instructor's plan for classroom response time and feedback on assignments is clearly stated. In this, it's a very simple statement, but it's a very important statement. You should tell the students that you typically respond to emails or messages within 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever your standard is, and then give them your time for having assignments graded. Typically, having assignments graded. Is that 48 hours? Is that 72 hours? What is that typical? Typically, I'm going to have your grades back to you. If you're in the face-to-face class, typically that's going to be, for most of us, 48 hours. You give an exam or assignment one day, you try to pass out the grades the next time you meet, which is usually 2 days later. This does two things. Number one, students don't call you as often and saying, have you graded my paper yet, 2 minutes after they turned it in, because you've said, give me 48 hours, give me 72 hours to get it graded. The second thing is, it's so easy when we're working to kind of push things aside. You've got so many things that are going on, and in your online class, students have submitted something, but you have this thing that you have to do for your face-to-face class. You have this committee meeting that you have to go to. You have this report that you have to prepare. So you work on that, and you say, I'll get to this tomorrow. And since often that online grade is not right in front of your face, it just keeps getting shoved back, and before you know it, a week's passed and you haven't even begun grading. And so it kind of helps to keep you on track as well. And then the requirements for learner interaction in Standard 7.4 are met. And this is, how you expect the students to interact with each other. This is that netiquette aspect of what you're looking for, how you want them to participate, how often they participate, explaining the role of the instructor and the role of the student. You can read the standard and see what that is, but make sure that that's stated clearly in your course.